everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Driscoll Decoded. My name is Angela, and I am your host for this podcast. We are on our 4th episode today. So today we actually have a new co-host. You'll be seeing a lot more of her coming up. Her name is Tori Hall. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Of course. She's the new addition to the team. So get familiar with her. She'll be talking a lot more, and soon she'll be taking on as the host. So welcome. Woo-hoo. Glad you're here. And then today we'll actually be talking about a special topic, one that is not talked about a lot in the community, at homes, anywhere really. And who we're going to have on our podcast is our expert, Dr. Lenore Depagter. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Depagter, you are a medical director for Driscoll Health Plan.
I am.
So go ahead and give the viewer a bit of background about your role.
Yeah, so I'm a medical director with Driscoll Health Plan. I've been here for 2 years, and we really look at a lot of the authorizations. We do some development for some of our programs, and we also do some population health. My background is in internal medicine and pediatrics, and I actually practiced in Central Texas for about 17 years in primary care.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So today's topic, puberty. It is a phase of life, or
Yeah, you could say
that.
Life.
Yeah,
Good.
I like that.
Every kid goes through. And as parents, we kind of stumble into the topic whenever it's like, okay, now it's here.
Yeah.
Or our kids are approaching 10, 11, 12. And we notice, like, okay, we have to have these conversations.
Yeah.
We don't know how. We don't even know where to start. So today we're breaking it down, and I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Okay, so chat. Thank goodness for chats, because anyone can use chat. But so chat defines puberty as puberty is a stage of development when a child's body begins to change into an adult body capable of sexual reproduction. It's triggered by hormones and usually starts between the ages of 8 through 13 for girls and 9 through 14 for boys, though it can vary. So this will be a sensitive topic to to parents. So I do advise, if you're watching, watch with the parent so that they can explain more as this episode goes, and with discretion as well.
Yeah, I would say that description's very accurate. It's very variable when kids start and go through puberty. It's very anxiety-provoking, certainly for parents, to talk about it. Depending on where you're from and your generation, you may not have had a parent that talked to you about it. And so everybody's different. Everybody comes from a different place. But it's just really important to be prepared and to be very clear in your communication and to talk about it and really create a safe space for your child.
I completely agree. I think as a parent now, and as 2 girls, it's in the far back of my mind, being that they're away from these ages, but it is a topic to cover, and in all realness, it is scary because we don't know how to say it.
Right.
Are they even understanding what we're saying? So let's break it down. What is happening in our child's body, boy and girl, physically and emotionally during this phase?
So, physically, it's a period of a lot of growth. They'll get taller, they'll develop some different features, hormones are changing, their bodies are getting ready to be an adult and getting ready for kind of reproductive capabilities.
Okay.
Emotionally, because there's such a drastic change and difference in hormones, they'll have mood swings and they'll have emotions they never had before. So it's really important to, before these changes start, kind of give them a preview, talk in very simple terms, very clear terms, what they can expect, and let them know it's normal and it's okay. And everybody went through it. Mommy and daddy went through it too. So it's really important.
Have you seen that movie? What's that movie called? It's with the emotions.
Oh, Inside Out.
Inside Out.
Inside Out is really a great way to kind of talk about different feelings. And so I'm speaking as a professional, but I'm also speaking as a mom and as a mother of a child with special needs. And so Inside Out really helped us kind of identify visually almost how you feel and how that feeling would look, if you had it. And, really talking about it, I think, is really important. And sharing those feelings and knowing that it's okay is really, really helpful.
I love that. Because I know now that how do I say this? As much as we don't hear it, I guess, like in between ourselves, like between family and the community, it's not just regular talk that people are just always talking about, but it is becoming part of the media in a way that there's movies coming out. I know that there's also another Disney movie, Turning Red. Have you seen that movie? So it's about this girl who turns into this red fox. Yeah. So I remember hearing a lot about that's basically this movie's about puberty. Yeah. And the more highlighting of the emotion part of it. And I want to say, if anything, like rage. Handling rage, handling anger. Would you think that is rage the most common emotion that that kids will feel first, or like that's more
I think
brought out?
Every child is going to be different, and it's going to be from getting more angry and being more sensitive about things, like getting your feelings hurt a little bit more easily, and then just those drastic mood changes, I think, is what surprises kids most when they go through this change.
Okay, so speaking as a mom, my girl, she is very sensitive already, and she is just 5 years old. So what advice would you give to mothers who already have boy or girl who are already sensitive? How would they navigate that as coming into this phase?
I would say, don't wait. Act early, be prepared, start doing your research. There are a lot of books out there that can help you. You can also talk to your pediatrician. Your pediatrician can tell when they examine them what stage they are developmentally. And so they can say, okay, the next step is going to be, you're going to see some more hair and you're going to see some more voice changes and things like that. So you can prepare yourself. So that is my advice. Don't wait till it's already here and you're scrambling and they're getting information from other places and other kids. And you don't want that. So let's get prepared.
Okay. I like that.
Luckily, there's lots of resources out there.
Yes, I agree. Stepping in the forefront of it.
It'll be here before you know it.
How do we get prepared? What would be that first conversation? What would that sound like? Do we say to them?
Again, every family's different and every child is different. So I can't really, say X, Y, and Z to your child.
Yeah.
But I think a good place to start is with common terms. Okay. So we're not going to call body parts by slang words or nicknames or family names or anything like that. Okay. It's best to use anatomical terms and be consistent. And so they know what the parts are called and things like that. There's also books really for kids in all ages and all different groups that have a lot of visual representations that are appropriate for that age. Whether they can read or not, you can go through that with them, and that'll provide some of that language that you can keep the same.
Okay. Do any children, or let me see if I can reword this, how common is it that children outside of this age range, that it happens earlier?
It's not very common, but it does happen. And so that's why it's important to get those regular checkups with your pediatrician, because again, they do, every time they see them, they're checking their level of development.
Yes.
And so if they're seeing like, oh, wow, this is a step that's happening too early, they can let you know and you can do some more investigations in that. Or on the other hand, if it's late, if they're 14, 15 and things haven't started yet, maybe it's time to get a referral or to get some labs or things like that.
Okay.
How often do you see that late development occur?
The late or the early or both?
Late.
The late, again, it's not real common. Okay. Most kids, that's the 80-20 rule. Most kids follow, the normal development within that 9 to 12 to 14.
Okay.
Girls are a little bit earlier, boys are a little bit later.
Okay.
So it's gotcha. So speaking of signs, what are some common signs that parents can look out for?
Okay. So hair in places that they didn't have hair. In girls, there's a little more obvious development that you can see, through clothing. In boys, it's just hair development, voice changes, and growth in their private areas.
Let's go into another avenue of families who are separated. I know, going to a personal story here, my first time that all of this happened, I was with my dad.
Yeah.
And we were at a dance. And I was in elementary school probably, or maybe middle school. I can't remember. But my sister-in-law had to help me.
Yeah.
So what advice would you say to those parents, who are divorced, who are separated, and how they can navigate of whenever something drastically happens with girls, but also boys as well?
Sure. I think it goes back to communication and preparation and everybody being on the same page. And sometimes that's difficult. I remember we prepared kind of a little kit for my daughter. So, we knew she was going to go out of town, or she was going to be with grandma or in another household. You just have a little kit, and you've talked about the kit and what it's for, and how to, and even practically how to use things, like pads and tampons and things like that. And just have that kit, an extra pair of underwear so that they always feel secure. So, yeah, you got to prepare. And just be on the same page. And it's not just with, if they're separate households, it's also with the school. Your school nurse, your principal, associate principal, your pediatrician. So everybody's communicating, everybody's on the same page.
So are school nurses, and I'm not sure if you may know this or not, but are school nurses aware that, late elementary or middle school, they're prepared for anything like that to happen?
They are, and they're a really great resource. Okay. They really are. And, we had many conversations with our school nurse and with our son and daughter, and it was very helpful.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think just reflecting back, like you said, it was something that we didn't always talk about.
Sure.
Tori, do you have...
I will say,
at the girls' table, let's talk about.
Yes. So an interesting difference in my household, I remember my brothers were actually taken into a room and given the conversation, but I wasn't. And that was very different. And I actually got my information from a book.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was like Keeping You something. I can't remember the title of the book.
Oh, dear God, it's Margaret.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Or Flowers in the Attic. I mean, I'm a child of an older generation than y'all, but
the Margaret,
or the Thornbirds. Do you remember that book, The Thornbirds? The first time she had her cycle, she thought she was dying, so she separated from her family.
Oh my gosh,
she was afraid she was dying. My mom, I didn't have that experience, but my mom had that experience. She went to confession and told the priest, "I'm dying, my father," because they didn't talk about it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I mean, these feelings are real, and if you don't know what's going on with your body and something like that happens, that's so dramatic, it can be shocking and scary. So we really need to talk about it ahead of time and prepare. So I talked about earlier, every family's different, every background's different. And so what you're going to feel comfortable talking about, obviously, is going to change from person to person. And that's okay. And I think that you can still talk and communicate and let your child know that it's a safe place to share feelings and share what's going on with them, no matter what your background is. Yeah. If you choose not to go over books or terms or things like that, you can still let them know, I'm here for you if you have a question. And that goes over any, faith values or anything like that. And everybody loves and cares for their child and wants the best for them, and makes those choices based on that. Yeah. So I think it's going to be fine. I think everybody can find their way. That's why you can't say, this is X, Y, and Z, what you need to say to every single child, because we're all different and we need to respect that.
Yeah. I think just opening up, like you said, the lines of communication, building that trust, that bond between parent or caregiver and child is really important. And I do want to piggyback off what you said earlier, was about before they hear it from someone else or learning it, just because media is so big, especially now in this generation. All of them have phones. All of them have social media. Even if they don't have social media, they're hearing it probably from their friends.
Right.
We want to get in the forefront of that.
Yeah.
And
you really want to combat that misinformation.
Yes.
Because you want them to hear it from you. You want them to get the right information. And then you also want them to hear that they can always come to you to talk about it.
For sure.
Rather than going to TikTok or Facebook Reels or something like that. You want them to talk to you. Or, if you're not available, a school nurse or a pediatrician or someone else that's trusted.
Okay. Yes, I completely agree. So let's talk about boundaries. Because as we're opening up this conversation, some kids may feel timid or like, Mom, I don't want to hear that or something of that nature, but also setting up boundaries like at school. Or like just with family or just, the child understanding their boundaries.
Right.
How do we go about in that conversation and what would that like typically look like?
So you really need to talk about boundaries, what is appropriate for your child to receive and what is appropriate for your child to do. So there's personal space. You can talk about personal space without getting into uncomfortable subjects. Also, when there's a subject that you are having a hard time tackling, just break it up in little pieces. You don't have to talk about the entire thing at one time. You can talk about it in little bits and pieces and repetition. And then, using common terms, using common definitions, things like that. But boundaries are in this day and age are very, very important to keep your child safe.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Boys and girls.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. It's important for all of us to have our boundaries and all our kids to know what boundaries are, especially in this day and age. So as they're going through all these emotions and trying to regulate them, right? Confidence, self-esteem can be affected.
Sure.
As much as we, build them up at home and we try to keep their confidence at a high, what are some things that you're seeing like with the emotions going up and down, like how you're seeing that affect a child's confidence or self-esteem when it comes to that?
So a lot of kids get embarrassed for overreacting or getting really upset or, getting really angry. And I think you, as parents, need to just make sure that they know that it's normal and that everybody else is going through it and has gone through it. So while, it may have been a moment of embarrassment, everybody understands.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a break, take deep breaths, do relaxation techniques. It's okay to talk to somebody about it. Like, hey, I overreacted in band practice and now I'm really embarrassed, and talk through those feelings.
I really like this. We're really, we're laying down the root of opening up the conversation and opening up the conversation of this topic, but also like the boundaries and communicating your feelings and laying down an understanding of that it's okay. It is very common. I think the more that people know about this, the more the next generation can feel just as empowered.
Yeah.
If anything more than how we've been raised. Going through that phase of life.
I see, generationally, kids today are a lot better and more comfortable with talking about their feelings than, say, when I was, growing up. So I'm happy to see that. That's really good that they're empowered and comfortable.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we talked about the common symptoms. The common signs to see. Not symptoms. They can very much feel like symptoms. But the common signs.
Yeah. I left out a very common sign.
Yes.
Which is the smell. They develop body odors that your sweet little baby never, ever had before. And it's really from one day to the next.
Oh my
It really is. And
really?
so that's a part of hygiene. So, and it can be embarrassing for them. So you shouldn't like call them out or in front of anybody, but, privately talk to them about, okay, well, we might need to use a different soap or shampoo and And I didn't really believe this until it happened to my kids, but you really do have to get a different shampoo and soap. And talk about deodorant and putting it on every single day, not just, when mommy shows you or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a real thing. That's a big part of hygiene for boys and girls. And
it's almost happens in an instant.
And impressive what our bodies can do.
Wow. I'm just true. I can't recall. Maybe I guess my brain just blocked it out for a reason. I can't recall any of this.
I'm sure mine did.
You suppressed those traumas.
So deodorant, and then that's the smell that they just all of a sudden just turns on.
Yeah.
And hormones, is that okay?
Yes. And again, they're not the only kid going through it. So you'll go pick them up at school and it's like, oh my God, the whole school smells like this, because everybody's going through that. So, but they still feel like it's only them, and I'm so embarrassed because now I smell this way or whatever. So that's one part. Another part, especially with girls, is going to be hygiene around their menstrual cycle. And that's going to be really important for them and for safety. So, I talked about a little bit earlier, making them a kit, showing them practically how to use it, because they're not going to know how to use feminine products. We're not born knowing, how they work. Yeah. And they are a little tricky sometimes. So, we really need to be practical about that and show them how to use those things. And then, using charts, using calendars so they can predict when things are going to happen and when they're going to feel a certain way before and after their cycle. That's really, really important. Calendars and charts, really important. So you want to talk about the Ready Kit? Having a Ready Kit. So
let's break it down. Yeah. Let's talk about girls first.
Okay, yeah. So with girls, you want to talk about the hygiene as far as bathing more regularly, because little kids don't necessarily, unless they get dirty, they don't have to necessarily bathe every day. But once you start developing hormones and those changes will happen. You'll smell a little bit more, so you're going to have to bathe every day. So that's a change. You might have to use some more soap that's geared towards antibacterial or things like that, that have a little more scent to them, a little more odor protection.
Okay.
And then deodorant, definitely, and deodorant every day, not every other day.
And not all deodorant is going to react well on the body.
Right. Right.
So true.
And there's different options with deodorant too. There's stick and gel and spray. And so, it's good to get them involved with picking out a product or showing them the different products out there. So that's part of that. As far as a Ready Kit, when you are anticipating that they're going to have a cycle, it's just a little pouch that you could get, any old pouch at the dollar store or whatever. You want to have an extra change of underwear in there, okay? And you want to have a couple different options as far as panty liners or pads, or depending on the flow and how comfortable they are. So that, I think, is a basic Ready Kit. People put other stuff in there, whatever is appropriate, Tylenol or Advil, if they feel comfortable with that. Not all parents feel comfortable with that. Some cleansing wipes, stuff like that. And then just make sure, that they know to wash hands before and after, or things like that. Just practical things that we don't think about.
Yeah.
Right.
But since they're going to be going through it for the first time, they need to hear that from us.
And this might be a bit of TMI for our viewers, but just so it is so transparent, and we're breaking it down here on Driscoll Decoded. Being the girl's first time experiencing this, would parents expect a heavy flow, a light flow? What's normal? So just we can all be prepared in this.
Everybody's going to be different, but usually what you will see is maybe some tenderness, some breast tenderness, a little bit of bloating, a little bit of moodiness. You can have a little bit of cramping or discomfort because it's the first time. And you may have that with every cycle. But just some changes there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, boys. Let's break it down for boys, for our parents that have little boys. What can they expect? How can we prepare them? Is there a kit, or how can we navigate through this phase of life?
So in my case, we talked to our pediatrician a lot. We had a great relationship with our pediatrician. We also got a book, and it's called The Essential Guide to Boys' Puberty, and it's by Debbie Ann Lewis.
Okay.
And it's age appropriate, like 8 to 10, and it really talks in basic, simple terms and has some visuals and diagrams in there that are really good. And I liked it because it really was kind of all encompassing. So it talked about your changes, how you're going to feel, how other people are going through it too, and then being respectful and growing into a man and being respectful to other people, to yourself.
Oh, I love that.
And to women. So there's other books out there. There's lots of things out there. But I found that was really helpful because he loves to read.
Yeah.
And so he would say,
Even better.
I want to read this by myself for a little while, and then let's talk about it. So we would break it down that way. And or you could, if your child doesn't really like to read, you can just kind of go through pieces of it, not the whole thing at once.
Okay.
A little bits at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. As to not overwhelm them.
Yeah.
We will link that
books are good.
book down in our
Yes,
comments.
for sure.
Yeah. There's and the one for girls is by Kate Pfeiffer. And it's the Guide to Girls Becoming Teens or something like that. And that's a really good book too.
Yeah, that sounds like a good book.
So it's a great starting point, especially if you're awkward, and it is awkward.
Yeah.
And anxious and like, where do I start?
Yeah.
Even as an adult, reading those books and then going over them with your child helps a lot.
Yes. Oh, okay. Those are great resources. Thank you for that. This is a lot. It can be very dense, but when should parents, let's break this down even further. Parents, when should parents seek extra help or extra support going through this phase?
Well, I talked about always talking to your pediatrician because they can help you kind of identify when things are coming. And I remember the visit where my pediatrician said, it's coming.
It's coming.
So definitely rely on your pediatrician.
Go to those
that
wellness
you see,
checkups.
absolutely, and have that relationship with them. If you're seeing things that you're concerned about, definitely talk to them, talk to your child. Your school nurse is a good resource. And I think a lot of things can be addressed with education and finding out that misinformation and where things are mixed up and really trying to just communicate the truth and saying, you can always come talk to me. Don't be afraid to come talk to me. Give them their privacy, give them their space, but let them know my door's always open to you.
Oh, that's so important.
Awesome. And so now for children, let's just say if they don't feel comfortable talking to their parent or their caregiver, who and what can they refer to for extra support?
Well, hopefully they will have some kind of book or reference. I hesitate to say go to social media because there's just so much information there that's not true. But I would say another adult, your school nurse, or
another adult.
another adult, a teacher in your school.
Yeah.
Or if you're involved in a church, if there's someone in your church that you feel comfortable with as well.
A trusted adult.
Yes, a trusted adult.
One that's a relationship that's already been built. And
Yeah.
I think we really decoded a lot about puberty. And I know I'm leaving here much more educated.
Me too. Very much so.
I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today.
Sure, no problem.
Part 2 is actually coming up. We will be talking and highlighting more on this topic, but referring to our special needs population.
Okay.
So if you're wanting more information about that, Dr. Depagter will be in that episode, and we're going to talk more about that. So you see us there.